I want to talk about something that not many people are willing to talk about. It's not that they don't, it's just that we're not willing to discuss in the media buying space because most media buyers, they have their way of going from A to B to C within the account. And that's great. And you see a lot of strategies, you see a lot of stuff on social media and a lot of stuff here on YouTube that is like, hey, this is the way to do it. And you go do it. And that is great. And it works until it doesn't. And so my mission is not to call anybody out or throw any shade or do anything like that. My mission is to create a space to let you know that it's okay to encounter the troubles and the issues that you're experiencing inside the ad account when you deployed that one strategy and it didn't work for you, but give you the resources and the thought processes of how do we go problem solve next to get you to where you need to go, whether that be for your own business or for your own clients, or maybe you're just getting started out and trying to understand this space as a whole. My goal is to give you enough resources that you can go, yeah, I heard that one thing. I'm going to go give that a test. And then it morphed into this. And that's how we got scale, or that's how we figured out our testing method, or whatever it might be. My name is Rob Perry. I own an agency called Noble 47. We've done over 40 million in revenue for our clients this year alone. We manage about $1 million a month in ad spend. I've been in this space for over 9 years. I've worked with over 150 direct to consumer brands. And that is how I've learned enough over those years that I feel like I can help a lot of people that are in a similar position I was a few years back, or even when I was just started out. Even from there, we have issues inside our ad accounts that we have to go problem solve for. It's not always sunshine and rainbows and scale. It is, hey, this is working. Now it's not. What do we go do next? And I want to bring those to light. And because I think it can help a lot of people, and it can help people get them to where they want to go inside of their ad accounts and inside of their businesses. So today in this video alone, I am going to discuss two different testing methods. The two methods that I lean on the most to learn what works in an ad account and what doesn't work in an ad account, and how I'm testing those different variables so that we can figure out how to move through the ad account, how to get more scale, how to drive more revenue. One of the ways I think is really good for businesses with money to actually invest in Meta, that I would say you're spending over, $2K a day, maybe $1K a day, anything over $1K a day, I think is good. And the other one is maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you can only spend $50 a day or $100 a day or something like that. And I want to show you just the way that I operate between the two of those, because you can't operate them the same. Most businesses can't have $100 a day and spread them out across ad sets to get you the results that you're looking for. So we've got to group that spend together. But then there are businesses that have the money to actually dedicate towards a testing budget. I'm going to show you this patented, trademarked Meta flywheel method that is just revolutionary. That's going to help you think about things in an ad account and how it applies to both strategies. So without any more delay, let's dive in. All right, so diving into the testing side of things, this is my super trademarked Meta Ads flywheel. I know Rob, you're probably wondering, Rob, how did you come up with that name? And the answer to that is, I don't know. Anyways, in the way that I look at things inside of an ad account is I look at everything from the lens of scientific variables. I look at us as having 4, maybe 5 variables needed inside of an ad account in order to prepare for scale, driving more revenue, putting more spend behind things, however you want to look at it. I think you need these things to line up in some manner in order to get some revenue and scale things inside the account. The reason I group copy and headline together is, and there's probably a lot of people out there that are really going to hate the fact that I have this to say, but that's okay. I have never personally found, if you've got a good piece of copy that's already working inside the ad account, and then you have a headline that somewhat relates to the creative or somewhat relates to what is being said in the copy, I have never personally seen going into an ad account, it changing the headline and the headline being the thing that turns the ad account around. I've never personally seen it. If you've seen it, I would love a case study and I'd love a walkthrough of it, because I am very open to being proved wrong. And maybe I need to do more of this, but it is something that I do copy testing. I do headline testing, and I do it when I'm looking to maximize efficiency inside the ad account or out of an offer or something like that. But I never really separate those two unless I'm, like I said, looking to squeeze the most juice out of things once I align everything else. But I look at these as needing those 4 to 5 variables. And then down here, I have this beautiful, beautiful line of my variables in the mix here. And so the way that I see this in my own head is that your biggest goal inside the ad account is to figure out how to actually get these to align as much as possible to create a very smooth linear flow for your customer. Who are you targeting? What's your creative saying? Does headline and copy copy support it? And when they get to the landing page, do they have a good experience? And is it similar to what was just said? Is it the similar promise that was just said in the ad? If the answer to all that is yes, and you get congruency and you dial these things in, then you have a very, very linear flow that doesn't have a lot of friction in it. But let's say you've got targeting inside that's worked inside the ad account. You're running a creative test and you've got some targeting that's working inside your ad account, and you run that creative test, and all of a sudden your CTRs are lower, your CPCs are lower or higher, and your CPMs might be slightly higher as well. When you see that, then you know, man, I might have a creative issue here. I might have something, my average watch time is low on the creatives. This is the thing that's causing the cog in that flywheel or the cog in that line that is not allowing you to get the most efficiency out of everything that you're putting together, right? So just visualize it from that. Or let's say, for instance, you've got really good platform metrics. Your targeting's dialed in, your creative is good, everything looks good. Your CPCs are really good. It should align, but your conversion rate is really low. Man, there could be something going on in the landing page, and that's what's causing the final cog in this wheel. We got to go focus on landing page optimization or CRO or something like that. But from a visual perspective, every time I'm trying to align things in an ad account, whether it be vertical or horizontal or however you want to put it, as things start to fall out of line here, our jobs as media buyers is to come in, do some data analysis, and recognize which one of these variables is causing the most friction. And that's cool. We're going to go pull the lever of creative and get this closer. We're going to get landing page back dialed in. Then I'm going to go focus on creative again for the creative team. And all of a sudden, these start to align. You start getting better results, so on and so forth. But in this training today, I'm going to go through two different testing methods that these are the ones I lean on the most. These are the ones that it depends on where you're at and spend. But these are the two testing methods that I want to cover because I lean on them the most. And then we'll get into some advanced testing methods in another training. But I think there's enough to cover here today. So as we try to align things, how do we go do that? How do we test these to get these to line up to the best of our ability? And let's start from there. So in testing method number one, this is the method where if you've got some extra, let's say you're spending $500 a day to $1,000 a day, anything above 500 or 1,000, this is what I'm recommending you go do. I am recommending a single master testing campaign. This is what I like. I'll get into some opportunities here in a second, but I like a single master testing campaign where I'm testing every single one of these variables over here. I like to have everything grouped together because I like to evaluate the true impact from other tests that we might be running inside the ad account. So for instance, I'm going to run, let's say I've got a new batch of creatives. I'm getting ready to test those creatives. I am simply doing an ABO budget ad set, and I'm setting that ad set within my control audience. The only variable I'm testing in this, the only thing I want you to take away from this is we're only testing creatives. Everything else remains the same. We're going to keep copy the same. We're going to keep headlines the same. We're going to keep landing page the same. As long as we keep all of those the same, then we know the only variable being tested in this equation is going to be creative. It's relatively straightforward, but there's a lot of people that I see that will test multiple things at once and then not figure out how they get from A to B to C inside their ad account. That's what we're trying to avoid. I would much rather you, over the course of 4 weeks, be able to stack one brick on top of one another and have 5 to 6 bricks stacked up by the end of the month, then taking a bunch of bricks, throwing them in the air and hoping that they all align. That's never a good way to go. I've rarely ever seen it work. And usually when it does work, it's because the product and the offer hits so hard that it really doesn't matter what you put out. But I digress. I think that as long as you're testing one variable at a time within our ad sets, totally fine. I like to test 4 to 6 creatives at a time. Now, if I've got big budgets, let's say $1,000 in my testing budgets, I'm okay with testing 6 to 10 creatives in that. I'm totally fine with that because Meta will show me which creatives are the ones that are garnishing the most spend and the most return for the business. And so therefore I know typically at that budget that, where the efficiency is. But if you don't have that big of a budget or something like that, 4 to 6 is the number I'm looking for. Everything's kind of changing with machine learning right now. So I just want to call it out. 4 to 6 inside the ad account. That's why you see 4 creatives here. Don't stick just to 4. I just did it as an example. Let's say you're getting ready to test another batch of creatives. All you're doing is duplicating this, and you're duplicating all the headlines, copy, landing pages, everything. Run multiple creative tests at a time. I highly recommend you do that. You'll get learnings faster. And if you got the ability, let's say you got 12 new creatives, run them at a time. Split them up into 2 ad sets or 3 ad sets, 4 and 6, or whatever it might be. Don't be afraid to test multiple variables at a time. Totally fine with that. Make sure I call it out because I know I'll get that question. Very similar to creatives, we're going to do the same thing with copy. If we're testing copy, then we keep our control audience the same because that's a control variable. We're keeping creative, headline, and landing page the same. Seems simple enough, right? We're keeping as much as we can the same in this testing equation so we know if we see a true impact or lift from the effort that we just put in, from the copy test that we just put in. Very similarly, if you're testing audiences, totally fine. fine. The only thing that changes though is the audience. You are putting your control, your top creatives in there with the top copy and the top headlines and the top landing pages in the mix. Everything else stays the same. You're not changing anything because you want to know, did that audience actually make an impact or did it not make an impact? And then down here, landing pages, very, very similar. Everything else stays the same. The only variable you're testing is landing pages. That means your control audiences, you're having control creatives, headlines. I have landing page here, but it's supposed to be control copy. That's how we're going to operate here. We're just only going to be testing the landing pages in the mix. So relatively straightforward. Again, ABO, lowest cost. Where do I set my budgets? My goal, if you can, is to afford 7 conversions, within every day. So if you've got a $20 product, you're setting your budget at $140. So that, just so you guys know, I'm still trying to get these out of learning phase if I've got the budget. If not, $50 a day, $30 a day. It depends on the product. It depends on what your typical CPA is. There's a whole equation we can get into the mix, but my target is always to get us into a spot that we can get out of learning phase if we find good results in the mix. But again, this is just testing. So whatever you can afford at the testing phase, totally fine with that. That being said, if you don't have a big budget, if you don't have 500 or $1,000 to spend a day on your product, how do I go test then in this without spreading my budget too thin? The answer to that is I don't know if you really can. It depends. There's some variables. How much does your product cost and everything in between? But if you've got $150, $100 a day to spend in that, you've got to put it into testing. You've got to get it into figuring out how do we blend scale campaigns with testing campaigns. A real simple answer here is we just simply move these rather than running ABO, we run CBO. And this is totally fine. So for instance, let's say I got to create a batch and I'm getting ready to test it. I'm launching a CBO campaign at 50, 100, 150, whatever I can afford towards it. I'm launching it within this. And then I'm launching those creatives within a single ad set with the whole goal being this is batch number 1. I'm testing these creatives. Run it, see where the results are and so on. And then allow Facebook just to go spend as efficiently as it possibly can. And you in the background get to go work on more creatives. You get to work on the next batch of creatives. So what does that look like? You get another round of creatives test. What does it look like to go test that stuff? It simply is duplicating this ad set out, keeping all the control variables the same, and then just swapping in your new creatives. And what you're doing is you're going to keep this ad set on and you're going to keep this one on. And what you're looking for is, where is Meta spending the budget? If you launch this right here, and over the course of 2 to 3 days, you start to see spend gravitate towards this ad set, and eventually this ad set takes over, congratulations, you've got new winning variables in the mix. You've got new creatives, new angles, new something in the mix that is driving results. This is just simply allowing spend to go tell me what is and what is not working. So you find some new winners, you're going to create some more variations, maybe new concepts, whatever it might be. You're going to go launch, do the same thing again. You get those ready to go, you're going to launch the same thing again, and you're just simply going to continuously do that. Now you go, well, Rob, when do I turn things off inside the ad accounts within this, and when do I not? If, let's say, for instance, you launch this and all the spends are going here, now you launch this one, and this one starts to take over, and it takes over 80% of the budget, and you start to see some winners. What you're watching for in this, knowing that it's not the control ad set anymore, what you're watching for in this is, are you still able to achieve the CPA you want over a 3-4 day period, or are the results really trending badly because most of the spend is going here and you're getting inefficient spend here? That's when I'm turning that off. When this becomes inefficient and falls out of pocket of your KPIs, that's when I'm turning that one off. Another training, we'll go over formulas to go ahead and set those KPIs, but just for the sake of this one and not driving this too long, that's when I'm turning this off. I am totally fine if you've got 12, 18 new creatives that you want to test them all at once and you want to spread them out across 3 ad sets at once just to see where the spend goes. Totally fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. That is okay, because what you're doing is you're allowing Meta to tell you where your new winning creative and control variables will end up being, and you're allowing spend to dictate that direction. Because here is how Meta operates. I hear some people talk about this, not everybody, but if you see spend in a creative and it's getting a lot of spend, there's a good chance that Meta is trying to signal something to you. Meta is trying to tell you that that is a creative it feels is going to enhance the user experience and get you the purchase conversions that you are set out to achieve, that they are trying to achieve your goal. And so if it's spending on that creative, it very well might be telling you, hey, this creative we feel like is going to do that. It's going to enhance that user experience. Now, I get a lot of questions. I've had a lot of questions over the years to be like, yeah, it's spending a lot, but my conversions are garbage. I'm not getting any conversions. conversions. Okay, go look at the data on the creative that it's getting all the spend. Is it average watch time that's causing it? Is it hook rate that's causing the issue? Is it your landing page that's causing the issue? Is there congruency between ad and this, that? What it's telling you is you've got more problems to solve. If it's not working, don't just cut the creative because it's getting all the spend. Go figure out why. There is a world where you look at that creative and you're like, yeah, that is really good. I can see why it's getting a lot of the spend. I don't have the resources or variables to go make it the creative it needs to be, so I've got to cut it. Or maybe it's something that's really engaging, it's clickbaity, but it's not driving the conversions I want. We're missing the mark on our audience. We got to turn it off. That's one of those scenarios, but I wanted to make sure I call that out. To wrap up this style of training, so again, let's come back to the beginning. You've got a CBO campaign. You've got multiple ad sets in here. You're allowing Meta to dictate spend. What about all the rest of these variables that we originally talked? What about copy? What about audiences? What about landing pages? The way that I would personally go set this up, just for the sake of peace of mind, I'm actually launching a different CBO in each one of those variables. So I'm going to have a CBO campaign for creative testing. I'm going to have a CBO campaign for copy testing and for landing page testing and for audience testing. And that's okay. You start getting really wonky results if you go, cool, winning creative in here. I'm now going to swap in a new audience as testing. And then I'm going to go test the copy. And so now I've got top creative, top copy inside the mix. And then I'm also testing this other variable. You start to see more inefficiencies develop because you're not focusing on the thing that you set out to do originally inside that campaign, which is drive better results from a creative test or a copy test or something like that. So I like to break these out into my own CBOs. And I try to spread this out depending on whatever the ad account is calling for. So most of the time, the biggest lever that you can pull inside your ad account is going to be your creatives. It is going to be aligning creatives with what you say on the landing page and communicating the value of your product or offer on the platform that gets somebody in the right frame of mind to go to the landing page, actually go make a purchase and take an action that you want them to take. Most of the time, it's going to be that. A lot of the other things that come into the mix is like, maybe you're running broad audiences and you're like, man, my conversion rate's down, but this is converted before. Maybe I'm going testing audiences next. Or maybe it's a very clear signal. My landing page is not converting people. I've got to go get new landing pages made. Then you go launch a landing page. But very rarely are you testing all these variables at once inside of this, just simply because you don't have the budget to, right? Again, this is a budget-friendly testing method that I've seen taught by a lot of people. And this is just the way that I do it. So feel free to put your own. That's the beauty of this. And like I said at the beginning of this video, my goal is to give you the resources for you to go give you the tools in your tool belt to go test some things yourself. But this is how I do it. So to wrap this up, the one thing that I want to make sure that I communicate in all of this is, and I hope that I've really drilled home, is please stop testing multiple things at once unless you have to, unless you're just getting kicked off or you don't know if the offer is going to hit. So you got to create certain creatives and a new landing page for it or something like that. Try to keep all your control variables the same inside the ad account. And the more you can do that, the better off you will be in a couple weeks time, because you will have a very clear map to go, yup, when I was testing creative, I noticed with this hook, or I noticed when I used females, or I noticed when I used this style of copy or this landing page, this is the thing that got me close to the results I need. I'm going to go do more of that, do more testing like that. So you might go get another female for an ad and run it through, or you might have that same female create the same hook, or whatever it is. You're using it as a guide, but allowing time to lapse so that you can make those decisions. Again, for whatever reason in my head, I use the brick analogy. If you're throwing a bunch of bricks in the air, 100 out of 100 times, I'm just going to say this, 100 out of 100 times, they're not going to line up. I've seen the same thing in ad accounts. If you can stack brick by brick and make steps to get you to that CPA and that goal where you want to go, Dad, you're going to be very thankful you did that. You're going to sleep better at night. And honestly, so am I. So hopefully you found some value in this training. I hope that you're able to take this back and go test certain things. If you see things in here like, man, I'm going to go test this, and you get some different results from it, throw it in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys are seeing, because again, I'm looking to create a channel and a space that again gives you the tools to go troubleshoot yourself, but then also a community that is willing to help itself. And I'm willing to help a lot of people because it's going to selfishly help me, and vice versa. So appreciate you guys watching. Hope you find some value. We'll see you next time.